Hey guys, it's me, Sonja of SonjaW Coaching. And listen, I wanted to come in here the first of the year when I record this. It is January 2023. Okay? And I just wanted to come in and get us together real quick about living intentionally. Okay? And I'm going to show us how we can create plans that God establishes through the stairwell to intentional living. Okay? So listen, let me get into it. Before I do all of that, let me introduce myself. Hey guys, my name is Sonja of SonjaW Coaching, where we help overwhelmed, multi-passionate women learn how to acknowledge, live, execute, and win their dreams. We're all about making sure that your dreams meet reality here at SonjaW. Now, we are talking about the stairwell to intentional living, okay? So listen, God is all about establishing what we plan. When I first really read Proverbs 16:9, I did not really understand it. And it wasn't only till recently that I realized, yo, Sonja, you you gotta make plans for God to establish. Like you actually got to put something on paper for him to be like, bet we're gonna do this, but maybe let me rearrange it here. Like God chooses to partner with us, which I think is weird because I'm human and I be messing up stuff, but God seems to think that we got enough in us to do it. But the key is that we have to put plans together. And I think that there are certain things that we can do in our lives that will help us build plans that God will truly establish. And I love it because it talks about how God says that we are his workmanship, that we are created in Christ Jesus for good works. And those works were prepared beforehand. That's what Ephesians 2:10 says. God again chooses to partner with us. He created us for good works that he put together for us to do. So wouldn't it behoove us to put something together? Wouldn't it behoove us to start thinking about, well, shoot, God, if you put me on this earth with some plans, maybe I should take a moment to figure out what those plans are. And I was thinking about how in the world do we actually get to those plans? And I talk about this in my devotional. Shameless plug. You can go ahead and get that down there. There's a link below. Anyway, that's not what I'm talking about today. But I talk about it in there, and I talk about how there's two main things that we got to do, right? We got to study the designer. So we got to study the one who actually designed us. And then we also have to study the design. We have to study us. Because God says that he made us intricately in our mother's womb. He put us together with very specific things within us. So if he's done that, if he took his time with us for that, then there's clearly something in us. And those desires in us are something that he might have put there. I love actually Ecclesiastes 3:11. It says that he has placed the longing of eternity in us, right? So if he's placed that desire in us, it's important that we acknowledge. And that's actually the first step in the stairwell to intentional living. This is a 4-step stairwell. I don't know how else to talk about it. That I think is key to truly living intentionally. God has placed eternity in us. And when we figure out these 4 areas of our lives, I truly believe that we're going to see more and more of what God has placed in us to do. We're going to see more joy. We're going to see more space in our life because we're living by our values, because we're living by what God has placed within us, not by what man wants, not by what society tells us, right? We are actually living by what God desires for us. So the first step, acknowledgement, is the acknowledgement of our dreams, the personality, the things inside of us that make us tick. This is the first step and the base to the stairwell. It's so important that we understand all of the things that God has placed in us or have an idea of them so that we can move forward. So, how in the world do I acknowledge this part of me? How in the world do I acknowledge the dreams and the desires in my heart? How do I figure this out? Let me break it down for you. I got 3 things. Number 1, realize that God truly did give you dreams. He gave you those works to do. So I don't know if you heard of the story of Joseph, but Joseph in the Bible was a guy who had this crazy dream that his family was going to bow down to him. Now, at that time, anybody would be like, bro, you're tripping. But his initial dream was a clue to the dreams and desires and the things that God had planned for him years in advance. God chooses to partner with us to save people. Joseph's dream saved thousands of lives. And he gave him that inkling as a child, as a teenager, right? The same for you. God has placed something in you because he wants to partner with you to do it. He wants to partner with you to make it happen. So it's so important not to despise these little inklings in our heart, not to despise this desire in our heart to become a doctor or to just be, I don't know, be a great businessman or be a great family person, right? There is a reason why you have that innate desire, why you dream about it, why you think about it. It's because God is giving you a clue on how you're going to save people. You ever thought about that? God has a plan and purpose for all of us to be saved, and he wants to partner with us to do that. Now, let's read Ephesians 2:10 again, but we're going to read it with the Amplified version, okay? I got my notes down here. It says, "For we are God's own handiwork, his workmanship, recreated in Christ Jesus, born anew, that we may do those good works which God predestined, he planned beforehand for us, taking paths which he prepared ahead of time, that we should walk in them, living the good life which he prearranged and made ready for us to live." He wants to lead us down paths of goodness and mercy and prosperity. Yes, prosperity. He wants to lead us down those paths. He built those works, those things for us to do. So it behooves us to take time to realize that we have a dream and that it's something that God placed in us. The second thing is to do not allow hindrances of life to stop you. Sometimes we can get so busy with life, we can get so busy with the humdrum of the things that we have to do that we forget that we have dreams and we have desires for our lives. I think there's 2 main things that stop us, and that's fear and this lie about time. The enemy, and fear is a lie as well, by the way. The enemy wants us to believe that the thing that we're desiring is too big, is too much, is that we don't have what it takes. All of the lies, all of them. He wants to implant fear because this fear is a spirit. He wants us to be held hostage by fear that cripples us, that stops us, or that causes us to avoid. That's my problem. I'm gonna be honest, that's my problem. I avoid. I either will stop cold and I won't do it, or more than likely I will avoid and do all the other things around it before doing the thing that God told me to do. I know that of myself, so I definitely pray about that and really fight against it. And that's what the enemy wants for you as well. You may be too afraid to step out. You may be too afraid to just do the little thing that God has called you to do. Don't allow fear to stop you because it's a spirit. I love is it 2 Timothy or 1 Timothy? I think it's 2 Timothy 1:7. It says that God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. God didn't give us that spirit of fear. There's a difference. I feel like also I might want to study that because I feel like there's a difference between the spirit of fear and then also fearing, right? Because we should be fearful of something hot. We should be fearful of flames, right? But that spirit of fear, I feel like is different. Like it's an actual spirit that causes us to stop doing something that we shouldn't be fearful of, right? But he gave us power, love, and a sound mind. He gave us the power to tear down the lies. He's given us love that the Bible talks about, that all love casts out fear. And then he gave us a sound mind. He's given us the ability to come against the lies of the enemy through soundness in our mind. And then I wasn't even gonna go down that road, but somebody needed it. And then also time, the lie that we don't have time. We can get so busy in life, and I think that's the main purpose, or not I know that's my main purpose in showing you how to be intentional with your life. Because when we get so busy with all the non-essentials, then we miss out on the things that God has called us to do. So my goal is to get you, shake you a little bit, and cause you to live by your values. Because when you live by your values, you're going to have more time to do what God has called you to do, because you're not going to be doing all this other stuff, right? So the two main things: don't allow these hindrances, fear and time, to stop you. And then finally, take time to actually acknowledge the dream. Acknowledge the hindrances. Actually start thinking about them. Okay, what am I fearful of? What have I said time stops me from? What are some disappointments? Maybe you've been disappointed before, and that causes you to fear, it causes you to be afraid to take that next step. Perhaps, you had something that you thought you believed about yourself that would stop your ability. Or maybe you really believe that you have no time whatsoever to do anything, right? Take a moment, acknowledge them, and then replace them with the truth. Replace them with the truth of the fact that you have everything that you need for life and godliness, that God has given you grace, that God has given you wisdom, that God has given you the ability to create, that He has given you the ability to make wealth. Like, all of these things, these are truths that you can stand on, okay? And then take time to actually acknowledge your dreams. Take a moment. What do you want your life to become? This actually is kind of like the first thing that you do in a life plan. You figure out what is it that you desire in your life. Like I mentioned in previous videos, there are 6 main areas of your life that you should do that. And I love it because it's something that Stephen Covey came up with. And he said that there were 6 ideal areas of your life. And I like to call them relationships, right? Because it's kind of like the relationship that you have with this aspect. Your relationship with God or spiritual things. Your relationship with your health, your body. Your relationship with your mind, your intellect. How are you growing intellectually? Your relationship with your family. What does that look like? Your relationship with your friends. And your relationship with your finances. Did I do 6? Yes, I did. And these are the 6 main things that your life surrounds. If you think about it, those are the 6 main areas of everybody's life. You got one of these. You got a mind, you have a body, you have a spirit life. Some people acknowledge it, some people don't. But you have a spirit life. You got money, or maybe you don't have it right now. You should have friends, because we can't do life alone. And you were born into a family. So all of these things are like what happens in life. You have these things. So it's so important that you understand your ideal state for each one of those areas. Figure out, what do you want to see? Figure out how you want to live. What is it that you want to see in that place? Where do you want to go? If you were to dream, if money wasn't an issue, if time wasn't an issue, if there was nothing that could hinder you, what do you want that area of your life to look like? Take a moment and dream about that. Take a moment and think about that. I bet you it's going to be beyond what you could even ask, think, or imagine. Now, once you've acknowledged your dreams and established the ultimate desires for those 6 areas, this is going to help you walk through life a little bit more intentionally. Because you're going to take a moment and be like, that doesn't line up with what I desire in my life. I'm not going to do it. Or, oh my gosh, this is a perfect opportunity for where I want to go. Let me get on it, right? It allows you to organize your life around what you value and not what others think or what may feel good to you in the moment. It gives you a path to start down, and a path, honestly, that God can establish. Now, in the next video, we're going to be talking about the second step in the stairwell to intentional living, and that is living by principle. We're going to break down how we take where we want to go with those 6 areas and figure out where we are in those 6 areas, and then try to close the gap. I'm super excited for the next one. Come back here next week, same time, all right? And we're going to talk about that second step in the stairwell to intentional living. Y'all, this was awesome. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that this is what you needed. If it was, go ahead and subscribe, like the video, tell somebody. Actually share this. Like, if this is something that's really transforming your life, share this with somebody. I want more people to see this and know that there are some great things that can happen in their lives if we just live intentionally. Y'all have an awesome week, all right?